inspired with Pastor Ruben Aponsa. Yeah.
Be inspired.
Be inspired.
Be inspired.
Be inspired.
You will always be inspired with Pastor Ruben. I urge you all to be inspired by Pastor Ruben Aponsa every Saturday at 7 p.m.
Be inspired with Pastor Ruben Aponsa. Yeah.
Be inspired.
Be inspired.
Be inspired.
Be inspired.
You will always be inspired with Pastor Ruben. I urge you all to be inspired by Pastor Ruben Aponsa every Saturday at 7 p.m.
Be inspired with Pastor Ruben Aponsa. Yeah.
Be inspired.
Be inspired.
Be inspired.
Be inspired.
You will always be inspired with Pastor Ruben. I urge you all to be inspired by Pastor Ruben Aponsa every Saturday at 7 p.m.
Be inspired with Pastor Ruben Aponsa. Yeah.
Be inspired.
Be inspired.
Be inspired.
Be inspired.
You will always be inspired with Pastor Ruben. I urge you all to be inspired by Pastor Ruben Aponsa every Saturday at 7 p.m.
Be inspired with Pastor Ruben Aponsa. Yeah.
Be inspired.
Be inspired.
Be inspired.
Be inspired.
You will always be inspired with Pastor Ruben. I urge you all to be inspired by Pastor Ruben Aponsa every Saturday at 7 p.m.
Be inspired with Pastor Ruben Aponsa. Yeah.
Be inspired.
Be inspired.
Be inspired.
Be inspired.
You will always be inspired with Pastor Ruben. I urge you all to be inspired by Pastor Ruben Aponsa every Saturday at 7 p.m.
Be inspired with Pastor Ruben Aponsa. Yeah.
Be inspired.
Be inspired.
Be inspired.
Be inspired.
You will always be inspired with Pastor Ruben. I urge you all to be inspired by Pastor Ruben Aponsa every Saturday at 7 p.m.
Be inspired with Pastor Ruben Aponsa. Yeah.
Be inspired.
Be inspired.
Be inspired.
Be inspired.
You will always be inspired with Pastor Ruben. I urge you all to be inspired by Pastor Ruben Aponsa every Saturday at 7 p.m.
Be inspired with Pastor Ruben Aponsa. Yeah.
Be inspired.
Be inspired.
Be inspired.
Be inspired.
You will always be inspired with Pastor Ruben. I urge you all to be inspired by Pastor Ruben Aponsa every Saturday at 7 p.m.
Be inspired with Pastor Ruben Aponsa. Yeah.
Be inspired.
Be inspired.
Be inspired.
Be inspired.
You will always be inspired with Pastor Ruben. I urge you all to be inspired by Pastor Ruben Aponsa every Saturday at 7 p.m.
Be inspired with Pastor Ruben Aponsa. Yeah.
Be inspired.
Be inspired.
Be inspired.
Be inspired.
You will always be inspired with Pastor Ruben. I urge you all to be inspired by Pastor Ruben and Ponsa every Saturday at 7 p.m.
Be inspired with Pastor Ruben Aponsa. Yeah.
Otherfore, Wabama Buana, and it has one as Sama. We did this a work catch you at Brabomo. Me person me catch us a one catchy. There be that sister, one catchy. Do media, Matuni didn't say be inspired. Be inspired. Me did you media ebe show crying. Me did you media ebe Kenya. Me be one akumamu any adwinemu foforo ye. Me gye Nyankopon twerɛ sam so. The Bible, the scripture. Eso na me no wadi nkomo. Hwɛ ani da so wo homa wate. Erade besa no nsura ba mu ama wate. Enka achi. Enti hia me. Osofo Ruben and Ponsa. Me mene da wei. Eni me da bia. Emra nonson abo pepepe. Mesa so to mensa. Efe nimdiefro. Etiche na ani ntire. Abadwumade yi so. Eno wa ba be che eye Awurade asema. Ebeboa me no wumie no. Awurade nhyirawo.
Hello and welcome back to Be Inspired by Pastor Ruben Amponsa. As you know, we're back with Youth Corner. So on today's show, we're going to be discussing age and marriage. So what age can someone get married? So we'll be discussing all things marriage, all things maturity, all the things that we basically need to do before you get married. Just so you know, you are watching Be Inspired. As you know, if you're watching us on YouTube, TikTok, whatever you're watching us on, you're welcome to put your comments and we will be monitoring them, so we'll answer them. Alternatively, if you want to send your questions, you can text this number on 07425 747246. Again, welcome back to our Be Inspired. I'm going to introduce my panel for today. So I think I'll start to my right.
Okay. Okay, hello everyone. My name is Yomusa. Yeah, I don't think there's anything more to say for now.
We'll go with, are you married? Are you not? Just for the flow of the conversation.
Yeah, I am married with a little girl.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you.
And my name is Daniel. I'm also married for the past 13 years.
Wow.
And
congrats.
we're here.
So I'm the odd among the lots. Alexander Uswansa, unmarried. I'm good. I'm fine.
Soon to be. I think we should be clear, bro. You don't think? Let's be sincere.
Maybe I'll join the club soon.
Yeah. So you got one on the way. He's on the way. I'm outside. So we've got the whole set. Yeah. He'll be jumping in. He'll be jumping in soon. So don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, whatever you're watching on. Send your questions. We will be monitoring them all. So to kickstart, I'm going to read Genesis 2, verse 24. So we get in the spirit of our discussion. It says, therefore, a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and they shall become one flesh. So for argument's sake, we know that what will happen is a man will leave his father and mother and be joined one. But what we're here to discuss is when. Is it when they're 5, 10, 20, 34? At what age do we think is suitable for us to marry? Or do you think there is a particular age where, like, once you reach this point, you're ready to marry? We know we live in a country where we're like governed by law that says some things like when you're 18 you can drive, when you're 21 you can adopt a child. So do we have something like that when it comes to marriage? I'll start with my
me.
yeah.
So in my perspective, I would say that we don't really have a fixed date or a fixed age for marriage. I'll say that because judging from the scripture you read for us, God was more explicit. The Bible was I know the Bible to be a very explicit book where the commands and the dictates of God are very exact. the commandment of God were so straightforward. Don't do this, do that. It was so clear. But when it got to the perspective where God was advising, I'll say it was an advice to Adam and Eve in the Eden, that it will get to a point in time where a man will have to leave and join flesh with a woman. He didn't specify a timing. So I think that should be a caveat. But in our world today, if you try to narrow it down to our world we find ourselves today, we have to understand that the timings for everybody are relative. Okay. What you consider an ideal time is particularly odd for somebody. Okay, in somebody's dictionary, his lifeline gives him the tendency that he was between 25 and 27. He should settle down. That is somebody's life plan. Another person also will sit between 28 and 30. It all boils down to the let me use Abraham Maslow's needs. So Abraham Maslow's theories needs outlines everybody and what they desire at a particular point in time. Somebody might feel he or she is at a self-actualization by even age 28. The self-accomplishment, you get a drift. So it's relative. It's relative. What works for me won't work for somebody. So if you ask me, I'll say that we don't have a fixed time. We only have a fixed schedule as individualistic. If I think I'm in that period, I've gotten whatever I think I need to suit me on and journey me on to marriage, it works for me. Then the Bible context comes working for me.
There's something there. In that Bible text, it specifically says a man, right? And I'm thinking it didn't say a boy.
Yeah.
It said a man.
Yeah.
So we would have to look at then at what point is a boy now a man?
Becomes a man, yeah.
Yes, because then I don't know if that has an actual age to it, but definitely a boy like I mean 5. You're a
So
boy.
we cut them out. Yes, okay.
Yeah, like
To
10.
put the children
You're a
out.
boy.
Yeah,
like
you're not a man.
the kids, right? So I don't know. There's obviously a variation, when it comes to the ages and stuff. But at what point does a boy say, "I am now a man, and I can go and be joined and cleave to my wife"?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say that, I don't know, we have some men on the panelists. I'll give them an
Yeah.
opportunity to also talk. But I would say, from my perspective, I always see it that men feel like they get to that point when they can like provide, protect. When men are raised, it's always like, you need to provide, you're the breadwinner of the family, you need to do all of that. So I'd say that sometimes for them, that's what they use to kind of gauge whether they are ready for marriage or not. And I know that as we discuss, we'll probably touch onto these other aspects. But would you say, even I think for Brother Daniel, did you think that there was a point before you got married where you was like, okay, I have enough money now, or I'm settled enough now, so that's why I think I'm ready to marry? Or if you don't mind sharing, what age you did get married, and what were some of the indicators that made you think, you know what, I'm ready?
Right. So I think I'll come from the generic point of view, of which mine will still fall within that category. So I will talk about 2 things that we need to look at. Number one, you asked whether age matters, although there's no specific age, but to me, age matters and it doesn't. And it depends on what I will term it as maturity. Now, when you talk about maturity, it has different aspects and characteristics, right? I would say that right after marriage, if after getting married, the next thing is the two to come together to make daily choices, daily quality decisions that will have lasting impact on the quality of what the relationship that the two want to enjoy or have as they move on. So now, is a person matured enough to reason with you? And what do I mean by maturity? Is the person willing to take a responsibility of their own and others, right? Right now, imagine you are single, you've got your own responsibilities, you know what you're doing. Now you're going to add somebody's coming to add to your life. Definitely at a point in time, their responsibility at a point in time will be part of yours.
Yeah.
At a point in time, if you decide to maybe bring children, that increases their responsibility. Is a person matured enough to take responsibility? Is this person that you want to enter into a relationship, can they have that open communication? At times not at times, but day in, day out, as part of making decision, you need to be open with each other. You need to communicate. So, and I like the idea that at times before you enter into relationship, you have that courtship stage where you get to study yourself. So there will be some signs that you will see that is this person, can I communicate with this person?
Yeah.
Can I discuss something with this person? Can I reason together with that person? They all form as part of what? Maturity. One key thing that I also mentioned is conflict resolution.
Yes.
We are bound to face conflict day in, day out. We are bound to face disagreements, right? Day in, day out in making those quality decisions. Can this person, how do they react when there's a conflict?
Yeah.
How did they respond with their emotional maturity? Emotionally, are they matured? How are they willing to accept others' ideas? That's what I'm talking about. Somebody can be 50 years old, but they are not matured. I'm talking about looking at this characteristics I'm talking about. Somebody can be 26 years and they are matured. So one, age matters in a sense that ideally, and in most cases, as people grow, we expect them to what?
Mature.
But it doesn't happen in all in all cases. So, but what I've also realized is this: age matters. And what do I mean? Age matters. And what I've realized is that at certain age categories, they have some caliber of behaviors. For instance, when you come to women, for instance, when they are in their 20s, they want to go out there, they want to buy so many items, they want to change clothes in and day out, they want to look good when they go out there. You understand me? Because they think that is their time. They want to ball, they want to chill, they want to go out. So imagine I'm 50 years, I'm 40 years, and I go and marry somebody who is about in the 20s, and I'm thinking about the next 20 years building and buying house or doing something, and they are thinking about
what clothes am I going to buy next?
You understand me? It becomes very difficult. But I'm not saying that all 20s are like that. Some of them knows what they want, and then it's not about knows what they want, but it's about the two of you. Can you reason together? But and how will you know that this person that I'm going into a relationship and want to marry have got all these qualities? That's why you need to we need to know that person. You might have worked with them for about a year or two in a courtship relationship to study them. Definitely at a point in time, within that time, there might be some conflict, there might be some disagreement. How did the person react?
I think that is very key. The point about conflict resolution, because I personally have a friend who says she's an only child. Like she was raised up as an only child. It's only ever been her and her mother. So she's in a relationship now, and she's found that it's quite difficult for her to like conflict resolute with her boyfriend because he's the older brother, so he's very used to even splitting up the fights. But she's never had that practice growing up. So a big like friction point for their relationship is he will say, okay, I'm sorry, we'll make up, it's fine. But her, it's still like, she doesn't know how to kind of like move on. And she's like, he's had years of practice of you beat your brother and then now you'll make up, you'll give him an ice cream, okay, we're friends. But it's like, I don't have that practice. So I do think that at times it comes with age, as you were saying, that the older you get, you will experience. You may not have had that like sibling relationship, but you'll have friendships, you'll have your relationship with your mother where it will give you that
kind of
opportunity to learn that not everything you need to just be so hard-headed about. Sometimes let it go. So I certainly do agree with the point that you would think that maturity kind of follows on with age, but it might not. Sometimes it comes on to experiences, because like the older brother, for instance, maybe he's been an older brother for like 25 odd years. He might have an experience that like a 30-year-old only child would have. So you will not be able to kind of use them in the same sort of way. So do we have an age that can inform us that someone is ready to marry using the rough guidelines? I think we kind of talked about maturity, like some of the skill sets that you need. Like, do we have like an age range where we're like within this point, like this period of time, I would say it's safe for you to go? I'm gonna ask.
I don't think that I would have one, but I'm sure we mentioned this maybe, that for men and women it's a little bit different. Like there's this whole thing about hitting 30. I remember there's a friend of mine, she was like approaching 30 and she has this podcast, and she was like, oh, let's talk about hitting 30, because I was already like over 30. She's like, how's it? Because she's feeling that pressure of like life. Oh, I'm turning 30, what do I do? So we had this discussion, we had this talk about maturity and growing, and turning 30, and also the idea of like becoming a parent, becoming a wife, like what's that like? Because she's saying she's outside of this thing and she's wanting to know, and there's all this pressure. And I'm just like, there's just this thing about turning 30 that just cuts across the board. I think a lot of people would know, and maybe would agree that there's something about the age of 30.
30, yeah.
Yeah, but I think for men, maybe you've got a bit more leeway. But for us, we don't.
No, I would say for girls,
We
as soon as
don't.
you graduate, everyone's on you.
Yeah.
Where's your husband?
Yeah.
What happened?
Wow.
Whereas the past 21 years, you were telling me if you see a boy, avoid him like the plague. Don't speak to any man. They're gonna ruin your life. They're gonna get you pregnant. You're gonna come and stay home.
Yeah.
You're gonna have no job. As soon as you graduate, they're like, oh, so when's the wedding? I'm like, "What wedding?"
Exactly.
I didn't even know I was allowed to speak to the male species. But you're asking me, so I certainly do.
We've been given fear, but then like for girls, like from the moment you are old enough to understand, you are being groomed for wifely duties, like being a wife. Which is not the same with guys. Like boys, I've got 2 older brothers. I'm like I've got 2 brothers. I'm in between the 2 of them. So I've been able to see how they were how they were like being taught stuff, and how I know, like it's very different, extremely different. Like for me, even though the pressure may not have been spoken, but I know that my role, like when I was being taught when I was growing up, my role was to be mothering in the home, nurturing in the home, and all of these things. My brothers weren't taught to be providers. Like, sits you down and be like, be a provider. This is how you do relationship. Okay, no, they were not taught to be a husband, be a father. You know, it's not like that for them. So I think you've got a little bit more leeway. I don't know if maybe I'm wrong. Coach.
Yeah, you are correct with that, but the aspect of it is your readiness, your preparedness, and the person's view about marriage, their understanding about marriage, their definition about marriage and relationship. For instance, I was one day speaking to some young ladies and I said, guys, are you gonna give birth? For you? No, I'm gonna give birth. So imagine a guy who want to establish and want to give birth to about 2 or 3, and then all of this fails to come up before they enter into relationship or they get married, and then they get to the point where they need to make that decision. And that they say, no, I'm not doing it. That person say, yes, you have to do that. What's gonna happen?
Chaos at home.
Right. So I think you were making a point. We're talking about that grooming, getting to know that. Well, that is my responsibility. I'm a woman. That married responsibility. What should I do and what I shouldn't do? At times, parents think that children they probably might be watching them from home and they should know, but they fail to teach their children. They fail to men or the family fails to teach their boys or men in the family how to become a responsible partner or husband. Likewise, the same. I think when it comes to women, it's much more better than that of the men. I mean, when it comes to our African context, I mean, mothers will have that time to sit with their girl child and talk through with them. But how many times do fathers and mothers sit with their
Men, guys, talk to them.
It's not done, and we expect them to be grown up and know everything. How is it going to happen?
It's very sad though, because coming to your point of maturity, especially for, well, I guess for marriage in all aspects. I mean, I work with children a lot, and I see obviously they can't have easy relationship. You know what I mean? Because like one takes that toy, the other one's like, no, it's
mine.
back, and then you're already fighting. You know what I mean? And you can't be when it comes to that maturity, because if you haven't been taught to grow to a point where you're like, no, that can be theirs, we can actually share the toy. Then when you are in a relationship and you are in a marriage relationship, you're like, but that's mine, give it back to me, you know, because you haven't actually grown up. You haven't, like, in your mind, and nobody ever sat you down and said, look, when you go into
You need to
a
share.
relationship.
Yeah.
Even if it's just relating with your brothers and sisters or your friends, you need to be taught. Like there's this man called Glenn. I don't know what his last name is. He does he does this thing of family. He's a father, and he's very much into his family. He's got, I think, 3 boys and a girl. He's very much into his family, and he took the time to teach his boys. I think they're around 10, 8. I don't know how old they are, probably around that age, to teach them, sit them down and teach them about relationship.
Yeah.
These are the different kinds of relationships that you will experience, my children. And then when it comes to girls, boys, this is how you actually treat a woman.
Yeah.
And he showed them, sat them down, and he took them to this place. He took them out. I think I saw one where he took them out, and they were role playing, like, okay, so if you take a girl out, this is what you do.
Yeah.
And they're still quite young. And I was like, in our culture, in our society,
It's banned.
has anybody ever? I don't know if any of you have been.
It's banned. You know, technically, when parents don't even feel comfortable trying to give their children sex education because we attach so much negativity to conversations and such. So clearly, I agree with you. Let me just say, I was over 18 before my dad literally sat me down so this is what you need to do as a man, you know, like that. Basically, this manly skills, even though I was observing my dad to be able to learn them, there should have been a point in time before I go to my adulthood for my dad to tell me, like, you need to do this, you need to do that. I've always said that the time my dad was talking to me, if I had chosen my own pathway, it would have been hard for him to bring me back.
Yeah, by that time, yeah.
Yes. So I think literally, just like I think I agree with my uncle Daniel that ladies are very fortunate because you most of the times you are literally closer to the house setting. You are literally given more of the skills to shape you better than men. That is why most of the times I think it's because of the kind of training that women are given at their young age. That's why the society gives them much more pressure to get into marriage as compared to men. Because
you're ready.
Yes,
we don't like it.
Because from age 8, you taught as a wife, this is how you need to serve your husband. So like it has been a daily routine for you. So like you've got acquainted with it. So and generally, if you go to school and the idea is you've been taught all the course content, you need to be examined. So then the idea is you have graduated, you've passed all the exams because your mom will find a way to test you. Oh, go and serve your daddy. Oh, cook for your daddy. It's some kind of level examination trying to examine to see, oh, are you really ready to usher into motherhood? And you cook for your daddy, and be like, oh, it was a bit salty, but you could do better next time. Then next time, daddy will be like, oh, I like your soup better than mom, so I would want you to cook the soup. So it literally is like you graduated. So from the infancy right to the top, you've been given that training with the idea that you are being prepared for marriage. Whereas guys, the conversation is take your book seriously. You're the man of the house. You'll be providing the future. So make sure you pass because and most parents tell the guys are if you pass and you get a better job, you're gonna get any woman you want in the world. It's a big lie. That's a very big lie. It's a very big lie.
Why is that a lie?
Always,
You've been scammed.
Yes, you're literally told, study the books, get a good job. Any woman of fire feet. Hey, the woman today, forget my brother. So the whole idea is the training for the guys is always get rich, get a good job, get rich. So that's why most of the times when guys are being pressured to get married, they're able to withstand it more than ladies. I've said that because you see, when you're not prepared for a journey, okay, and somebody's pushing, it's not easy to fall in it. But if there's preparation and somebody gives you that push, the mind goes, oh, I think I need to go to that direction.
Yeah.
For men, if you as a man don't consciously now I'm ready to get married. If you don't have that consciousness and you don't become intentional to work towards it, trust me, because you've not been given that training from infants, it's not been part of you. No pressure can move you.
No. So onto that, don't forget you are watching Youth Corner by Pastor Ruben and Ponsa. Don't forget to send in your questions, any input. You're more than welcome to put them in the comment, and we will be monitoring and going through them. Just to go back about the pressures that our brother Alexis. I think that is very key. And I think that might be the difference between men and women. So my next point or thing that I kind of wanted to talk about is that the pressures that we get from society. I feel as though we've slightly touched on. When you get to a certain age, everybody's looking at you like, when will you marry? I don't know if any of you have received a call, be like,
Yes. I've literally gone for counseling sessions.
Oh,
pre-counseling sessions.
As a single person.
As a single person. Like, and it's so touching that people try to find out if there's a fault with you.
Yes.
Actually, when you tell them like, I'm not dating. Like,
what's wrong with you?
Why?
Yeah.
So they try to probe.
Yeah.
Are you okay? Some even ask you like, do you have taste for men? In that. Yes. They ask you these questions and you're like, come on, I'm just not ready. You get it? So, personally, I'm not. For me, I've gone through severe pressures.
Yeah.
From age 23 to now, it's been
pressure. Yes. Do you think that is useful? Like, do you?
Sorry, mom and dad, you are one of them. My parents are getting. my dad used to tell me he married at age 23. And that's true. Oh, my dad was married when he was 23. I'm almost 22 then.
Yeah.
So when I got to 23 years,
he was looking at you.
I think it was my second year practicing as a professional teacher in Ghana.
Mm-hmm.
So he asked me. He called me one day. So what's up? Yes, it was my birthday actually. My 23rd.
Oh, it was your 23rd birthday.
Yes,
wow.
Like, Alex, so
where's the wife?
What's the plan? I'm like, well, so I want to go back to school. Like, get I'd always wanted to pursue law when I was in Ghana. I only changed my idea when I came here. I'm like, I'll go back to school, study law, and I'd be like, okay. So he listened to me. Everything was about
your
school. I didn't mention marriage. And it's like, so marriage? I'm like, oh, come on. Me, 2032. That was
2030.
Yes, that's what I kept telling my dad.
Coming soon, though.
Yes.
Coming soon. Live and
When I
direct.
first came to the UK, David, I was watching it. The first time we had a proper conversation, like as a granddad and a grandson, I was think it was like 2 weeks after I came to UK. And he was trying to ask me the objectives for the new environment. So when I laid down the objectives,
marriage wasn't
there was a marriage. So he asked me marriage, and I was not a bride. And we were like, I laughed and I said, me 2032. And Red was like, Charlie, so you brought yours forward. Me 2035 now. And I was like, you
guys. Yeah.
So when I told you, when I got it, like when I wanted to get married, I want to get married. He started laughing. So recently, before I was leaving for Ghana, guys, do you remember that you used to tell me we were going to church and I was cheap, like, you used to tell me you're married in 2032. And he's like, you came to the UK 2022. So you were literally saying 10 years. It's even less than 5 years, and now you want to marry.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's true. Wow. The preparation is very important. I was not intentionally trained from the offset that when I get to a point I need to get married. I was trained to get a good job, to get a good life. Yeah. Now I'm getting the good life. You don't let me enjoy the good life. I'll bring it pressure.
No, I totally get that. And I think this question, is also directed at you just because you're within like that period of preparation. Would you say there is any like indicators that you would give to like maybe young people who are maybe looking to get to that point? Especially when we talk about age. Might not say that, oh, you're 26, so I don't know how old you are.
I'm 27.
27, okay. I don't want to be like, okay, so my brother, 27, he got married, so you two at 27, you need to get married. But were there any indicators within like your behavior, or within even like emotionally that you felt like, you know what? Because originally you said 2032, and I'm sure you'd have your reasons.
It was a perfect reason, a perfect plan. So initially the plan was that I'd always told myself by 2028, I should be holding a PhD. That was when I was in Ghana. When I came here and I went to 2032, the plan was that by 2030, I should have PhD. When I get PhD, I get a better job in the UK. Within the 2 years, get established, get the best of everything that will propel me to marriage. Maybe after 2032, I'll just find somebody's daughter. Just tell her something. Your plan. That was the plan. But
what made you push it forward, though?
Exactly. So what changed the plan was literally it was one night for me. Like I had come back from work. You know, when you the pressures of living in the UK can thwart a lot of your plans. I don't know how it works for you people. Maybe for some of you who are born here, it's but if you come from a different environment and you settled in the space and you realize that the life is a bit different. Came back from work. I was very worn out, and I'm like, wow. So I'm going to live this worn out life for the next 10 years of my life. That is per the original plan. And I'm not even going to have somebody to speak on phone and say, how did your day go? Because I'm literally living with a guy at home, bright.
Yes, we know. Yeah.
And we all understand that we'll all be tired. You get it? So when we come, we're all tired. We just go to the kitchen, first something, we go to bed. Like, literally, nobody's even interested to find out what happened in your day.
Yeah, no, I'm tired. You're tired.
We're all tired. And we wake up the next morning,
same thing,
same jamboree. Yeah. So I'm like, come on, like you need that figure to press you on, because it was just like my life was just roping around, go to work, go to church, go to school. Like it was just that.
Yeah.
I couldn't have genuine conversations, and I felt I needed that. So I was like, okay, well, let's give it a shot. Let's get a feminine factor, and let's see what the person brings on board. So the feminine factor came in, and I was trying to get the missing pieces that I felt
that you were looking for. Yeah.
Exactly. So when after like about a year having those pieces, bro, I'm like, come on.
This is it.
It's connecting the dots.
Yeah.
It's connecting the dots. And you could literally see that. I could literally see that we were so much alike with conversations in terms of plans, in terms of how we would want to see. I've always said this. I always ask you, how do you see yourself in the next 5 years? It's very crucial for me, any person. It's very crucial for me because I want to see how you've aligned your life to see if I fit within the bracket. If I don't fit within the bracket, I won't worry myself to even propose to you. I always any day I propose first, I try to find out your plan. And I realized that the plan of the feminine factor that came into the contest
was nice.
Too bad for mine. Yeah. So we could literally judge and fix it somewhere.
Yeah.
And it's been great since then. So it was just a self-consciousness when I realized that I was missing genuine conversations, because my mom told me something. She said when she was ready to marry my dad, she was working as a trader by then.
Yeah.
So when she closes from work and she was living with her auntie. And at the time, her auntie was not in support for my daddy to be coming around in the home. Like, peeping. So when she closes, and it's a very hectic day, she realized that the junction towards one she goes somewhere, my dad, there's this pillar there, my dad will be close to the pillar. And once you can be like, oh, how was your day? So how, like, the way my dad would ask those questions, he felt that, come on, like somebody's even interested to know how my day went. So I think that conversation my mom had with me, I was very young when my mom told me that. So when I came back from work that day, it was from Harrogate. And I'm like, come on.
I need that. I can't come back and go to school. Eat my food and go back.
Because David is someone who loves genuine conversation. Yeah. I only get to see him on Saturdays. Yeah. And even that Saturday's board meetings will take majority of the time. So like, I'm sorry.
Board, please.
Like, so I was missing that genuine conversation, and I needed that touch. So I'm sure there will be a trigger for somebody.
That
if young person, look for that trigger. The trigger will genuinely tell you what you want. And if you find that person, you think that the feminine factor or the male factor will solve that, I think that stage it gives you that awareness that, hey, you're getting there.
Perfect. See, that's why God says it's not good for man to be alone.
Yes.
You know, he has a reason and a purpose for that. And then he says the man will leave. That because when you realize that in your story, when you realize that no, this is something I want, you got up. You didn't stay sat. Yeah, you got up and you're like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. Yeah, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go and find this person. Yeah, and I think that's a very important thing. I think it's a crucial part of the growing, the maturing, and understanding. You know that okay, there is something that I need, that I'm lacking, and I'm going to get up. I'm not gonna stay sat. But for us, it's different. Yeah, I'm not gonna stay sitting here. You know, until But I appreciate that because it goes in line with the word as well.
Yeah, no, and I do appreciate that. I think now that you've given us a pointer, I think the perfect next question now is if somebody's at the point you are at, or you were at, because obviously we've moved on a little bit from there. You moved on. Hello, I've moved on. Moved on.
I don't know.
And do you think
before that, I think you did ask Precious from from the society, from the culture, from the family. Yeah. Yes, there is, and there's still gonna be. We can't change that one. Society is trained to be expecting certain things within certain days and within certain time frame. People are expecting people to get married at certain time. That is the societal expectation. That is cultural expectation. That is what people expect. And at times, let me say this, it's not fair. Some people may meet you and they might ask you certain questions that may be so demeaning. It might be so emotionally abused and disturbing. It's not, you're not saying people shouldn't ask, but it depends on when, where,
how.
and how you approach the
Yeah.
person, you say the thing.
Yeah.
Societal pressures are good and they are not good. As I said, if they are approached in a nice way, it serves as a kind of stepping back. They kind of remind us that certain things ought to be done. Because at times, like you realize on yourself that no, what I'm doing, what I'm doing, I need somebody to talk to. I need somebody. I can't continue with that pattern. What if that person doesn't realize that?
Yeah.
And they keep doing it for years. They keep staying in that state. At times, we need those societal pressures from friends, from family, from church to bring us back to tell, to make it aware that there's something that we need to do. But we should be mindful the way we approach them, the way we say it. It's just not, because if we don't approach them well, it can kill the whole
negative
spirit
impact,
negatively. It can stop the person from even venturing into it at all.
So I do think that's, and as you said, societal pressures are everywhere, and it's something you're gonna have to almost like. Our brother went through it. It's almost something you're gonna have to just almost navigate and deal with. And know that you're not the first; you won't be the last, and it will
toughness to even resist that pressure. It's also a form of maturity.
No, it is.
It is.
You know what they say? Pressure turns people into diamond. That's what you said.
Yes.
What the pressure some of you are feeling? Trust me. What is your time?
So how you even manage it shows how mature you
That
are.
was part of maturity.
Just like you're saying, somebody can tell you very demeaning words. Your response is also tells level of
maturity.
How mature you are.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say the person approaches the question negatively, okay, and you also rebut negatively. It means in your marriage, if a partner approaches negatively,
you two, you're gonna fight.
Now we're fighting. Exactly. So even you
catch me outside.
So it's even yourself. It's a checkmate for you. The kind of responses you give to those pressures when they come also tells the level of maturity and how well prepared. Because come on, marriage is no joke.
No.
There will be some rough days where your partner will come from work and maybe like it was just a troublesome day at work, and they just want someone to vent on. And just like I'm saying, you want somebody to give you that extra care. Be ready to be able to also absorb vent. Exactly. So the person comes in and unfortunately for you, you're the only one at home. You're the partner. He vents on you. And you need the maturity level to tell you that, come on, he's coming from work. It might be just at the junction, somebody just bumped into her. And it's making her crazy, and you are the receiving end. So how you also manage some of these conversations when they come tells how ready you are.
I think it is very important. I think we've kind of discussed about your readiness, about maturity, emotional intelligence, and all this.
But there's just one thing I think I would like to share in terms of like the readiness and maturity. For me personally, my journey, I think, like we're saying, it's different for men and women. For me personally, I think I took some time, not knowing obviously, because like I had told myself, I'm not gonna get married ever. I'm going to just live by myself and I'm gonna adopt kids. Yeah. Yeah. That's what I told myself. But then I had to go through a journey, and I went through some counseling as well because I wanted to understand myself and know who I am. And I think it's very important to have that moment of like I don't know, self-assessment, self-reflection, and allow somebody else to also tell you and teach you and coach you, because marriage really needs humility. If you are not humble in marriage, that's it, it's dead. Yeah. and allowing for somebody else to come into my life and say, no, I think you're talking about this, but it doesn't sound quite right, and then I'll be like, wait, oh, right, yeah, okay, let me think about that, because because then now when I'm at home, I have a partner who will say that to me. But if I have not opened myself up to being challenged and being asked questions, when they ask me, I'm like, bruv, I got my fist
I'm
up.
ready to
I'm
fight.
ready. Like, I'm already in protective mode. You know what I mean? And God requires that from us. He says that a man who walks humbly, a person who walks humbly is a person that will inherit, the goodness of God, the riches of this world. You will inherit them by walking humbly and listening to God. God requires us to be obedient, and there's no way I can be obedient when I cannot even allow for myself to be in a space where I can be humble and be coachable, be teachable, and be calm, be meek. Because even with Moses, he went all the way to being prince and then all the way back down again, only then to be risen up again. And I think for all of us, when we are thinking of a journey of relating with somebody else, I would suggest that we allow for godly people. Even Ellen White speaks of this. For those who don't know Ellen White, my apologies, but maybe in another time we'll get to talk about her. But she talks about having godly influence around you. Having people that will speak to you, speak life into you, and allow you, and people you can be accountable to, who will hold you accountable when you are making mistakes on your journey. And she even speaks of praying. If you have been praying twice a day, double it.
Yes.
Yeah. Double it. Yeah. However many times you've been praying, double it. If you've not been praying, I mean, we can't multiply that, because if you multiply it, it's still zero. Yeah. So you better start now.
Praying, yeah.
Okay. Add one at least, So there's a lot of things that are very important. And I think a person who is not prayerful, a person who does not allow people to be in their space and they can be accountable, and a person who is not coachable, who is not humble, a person who is not meek, who cannot handle conversation, then you are not ready.
Yeah.
Allow somebody. I think you can't, like, I don't know if it was Alex giving this example, like when you've written your own paper, when you mark your own paper, like it's like
justification.
this
I didn't get this because of this.
Yes.
Let me give myself
Technically, this was meant to be that, so I can just mark myself like a, but if you allow somebody who is godly, and I will stress again, who is godly, to actually give you a proper, true, and valuable, like, assessment of who you are, and you can handle it, please allow yourself to do that.
I think that is great insight. So if anybody wants some practical next steps, I think that is something that becomes clear to me.
Even when you get in a relationship, if your partner can't do it with you, if you can't sit there, allow. That's why you need to have that circle of people around you that you can be accountable to. Godly people who will pray, because marriage is not easy. And when you get to a point where it's tough, you need to be able to go to someone and be like, bruv, it's tough. Okay?
Yeah.
Mama, listen.
Yeah.
And then they'll be like, you don't want someone who be say, leave.
Yeah.
No, you want someone who'll say, okay, my daughter, calm down. I hear you.
Yeah.
Now let's go to the word of God. What does it say? Do you actually want me to tell you this now? Should we talk or let's pray? But at least someone who will say, let's pray. I am giving you to God about this particular issue.
Yeah.
And it mustn't be just you, but you and your partner. Both of you, husband and wife, must have a place where you can go and say, look, we're struggling with this. What do we do?
Yeah.
If you've got a person in your life you're dating and they can't do that with you, I'm sorry.
Alexa's happy about it. Sorry, it's not gonna
sorry
work.
for you.
Sorry, it's not gonna work. Just to move on, I think we've kind of established the steps on the age and the maturity. Don't forget also, if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to send your questions through. There'll be an opportunity for us to go ahead and read them. we've now come on to, you've done the introspection. You think, you know what? I'm at the point where I might be ready. But you look at your surrounding and there's nobody there.
What do you do?
What do you think it's a case of maybe your expectations are too high? You need to be more realistic? Do you need to move? Do you need to explore? What would be your next step? Just briefly.
You see, this thing is very practical. Let me share experience of somebody. I worked for her. I went for a marriage ceremony in Ghana. I think it was a Mekum church. And so during the reception, they were asking the couples how they met each other. So the lady has literally been in the church for like 7 years, and technically, like the guys there, nobody was coming. So the guy who eventually got married to her was just in the church for like 2 years and a half. So we're asking her, how were you able to catch, his attention? And the lady was like, so she realized that technically everybody in her church, and become like prior to before the guy coming, wasn't interested. So she told God that whoever comes to the church next is going to be her husband. So she's going to go practical. So luckily, this guy comes to the church, and she's an interest coordinator in the church. So whilst not, they assign you to individuals to check up on you, to see your regularity and all that, and she offered to be the custodian of the man, and she made sure that she was doing call-ins every day to check up on the man.
Okay.
Even though it was genuine to check on the well-being, she also had hidden
plans.
hidden plans somewhere. So every Saturday, she realized that a guy loved braised rice and wamu. So every Saturday, she made sure she was bringing food to the guy.
Oh.
Yes. And along the line, the guy had a friend who also joined. So she made sure that the food was enough to suffice the two of them.
Yeah.
So according to the guy, it was one Saturday, the guy was like, come on, don't you see what this lady is doing? Like, she checks up on you every day. She brings us food every Sabbath. And he even told me, like, she goes ahead to be interested in your life. Don't you think she likes you? So the friend drew the guy's attention. Haven't you been saying all the the dots? Even though she's doing it like, but come on, give it your shot.
Yeah.
So the guy said he had harbored that level of fear. The lady actually is a lecturer in Care University, and the guy was just an SHS an SHS guy who has now got a job to do. So like technically in terms of rating powers, the lady had a better job. So the guy said he was trying to, come on, I don't think this is going to work. She said, Ken is a lecturer. So she was trying, and he gave it a shot, and it did work. So I was looking at the practicality aspect. Sometimes it can be true. Our spaces look that all the dots are sealed, but have we tried a different approach? Sometimes it could be that people even look at the way you dress so much to church. So they sometimes intentionally limits the way you appear, limits the way you do some things. People genuinely would want to approach, but maybe you've given a perception to the space out there that this is the class you belong to. So it technically disqualifies some people even from the onset.
Yeah.
Okay, so we should be sometimes we should change the approach. If people after this, our cultures makes it look like a taboo if a lady walks to a guy and says, "Come on, I like you." From the African perspective, it looks very odd.
I don't think it's African.
It's not just
I think it's like
exactly.
socially
Yes.
we just accepted that.
Yes, it looks very odd. But trust me, if you like somebody, okay, it's not necessarily going to tell the person. I've always said this. Every woman knows how to keep a smile.
How to do what?
Every woman knows how to keep a smile. Yes.
Oh, okay.
I've
So
always
that's fine.
I've always said, if your man is cheating on you,
Hey,
I'm coming. If your man is cheating, let me make this. If your man is cheating on you, meaning you're not doing something he wants.
Okay, I don't know if I agree.
Every woman.
I don't know if I agree.
Every woman knows how to grip his man.
No, I think when it gets to the realms of like cheating. That's with it. Like that's a choice. I think
choice to make.
Well, okay, Uncle Dan was saying that. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
that you do these choices, you pick and choose every day. Just because today I said, oh, we should eat chicken and rice, and you said we should eat fufu, I'm angry. I'm gonna go find a different man because you did something wrong.
I'm only coming from a perspective that you know that the little things that you do that knows how to grip a man and how to treat
Yeah.
okay. And I think ladies are more fortunate in getting the attention of a man than men doing that for women, because sometimes when men end up doing that much for men, it appears that like they just want to spend or that. But when ladies do this, the little things for guys don't take from the perspective that they want to spend on them. I don't know if you get what I'm trying to get.
Yeah.
We get a different notion that come on, the girl likes us, or the girl likes me. It's easy for men to draw that conclusion when they see those dots for a moment. So ladies, if you or guys, if you're there and you realize that, come on, it's been hard, the space is getting close, change the approach, be practical. That one shot you're looking for, change the approach. Be intentional about them. Be very intentional about them. Who knows?
okay. So you were talking about change approach, which is very good. I'll also add this. If you keep doing the same thing every day, we keep repeating the same results, right?
Yeah.
You know, at times we need to change environment. You know, in this UK where you find ourselves, if you don't take a years, you'll be tripped to stick to the same pattern of movement, either from work to
home.
Even imagine you have a permanent work that you're doing, you might be stick to one route the whole of your life. If not going to church, you go to work. The same pattern. And you go at times we need to go out. In the summertime, there might be so many organized activities. Involve yourselves. You don't know where you're gonna meet that person. You understand me? So our prayers should be backed with an action.
Yes.
You can't keep sitting down there praying for a partner and you expect God
will deliver him to your house. Amazon. He'll knock on your door. I'm your husband.
It's not going to work out.
I'm your husband. I'm your exactly.
And what do I mean? You need to be back with an action. One, change your environment, going to parties, other things that will mean you meet people there. Change the way you dress, change the way you talk, your appearance, the way you position yourself. All counts. Because at times it might be a recommendation. At times it might be one day we're going to meet that person. And you've talked about the approach, and at times it's not only men who approach, women can also approach.
I don't subscribe to that. I don't subscribe to that. No, thank you.
It works and it's working.
No, to me, I see even the text that we read at the beginning. A man will leave his home and he will go.
So you're
I don't. No. The man. I personally don't see myself going. And also, I know that's not a type of man that I will want. If a man wants a girl to approach him, I know that that's not the man for me. So even already, I know that.
Okay.
We have a difference there. I would never approach a guy and be like,
no. It's not. Listen. It's not just about going to approaching the person directly, say hi. Is that what you can create the environment?
No, and I get that. I think back in the day they have this concept of like drop the handkerchief.
Yeah.
Where drop the handkerchief could be something as simple like back in the day they'll drop it and then the gentleman will be like, oh, like miss, you've dropped it. Like she didn't directly.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
That concept I'm okay with, but me directly go and be like, me pal.
No.
You see, Chris, when the signs the girls was doing, she didn't literally go to the man that I'm interested in you. You get a drift, but it was the activities were so sequential. We're caring,
creating the environment, the room.
So it took the awareness of the friend of the guy to say, come on, look at the dots. That was how he was able to fall in line. So we are not literally saying ladies go and tell the guys, but you see, the chain that you are creating should be so it should be consistent. So like you bring him food today, then like a whole month no food, and you're like, hey, I brought you food the last time. You know, you means I like you. I don't know. If it happens once, twice, like that, if it follows a chain.
Okay.
And trust me, let me tell you, single guys, one of the challenges. One of the challenges they have. I'm speaking as an experienced single man. It's one, food. It's very huge for them. It's that's the way to a man's heart is through food. I think it's very huge for them. if you have deep conversations with guys who are single, it's one of their big barriers. So when the and you see today in our contest today, ladies are also having this notion that the guys also can go to the kitchen
and they can also cook.
Yeah.
Yes. So if you have that lady who becomes so consistent, interested in what you've eaten and what you've not eaten, and at a point even try to bring you something, it is a big way to tune the guy's attention. You give him that signal that, okay, it might not be maybe you like him, okay, but you give him a notion that, oh, if he is ready to make a choice, you fall in the bracket. And let me tell you this, before every man goes out there to make a choice, there's always that bracket. There's always that bracket of options.
Yeah.
He first looks at, okay, what are the pools around? What is this one doing that could give me the confidence that if I go, it's going to work? What is this one not doing? we look at all these options because trust me, men have ego. And every man will be bruised if you go to a woman says no. It's so huge for them.
Yeah.
So we always want to look at the easiest targets and look at, okay, this could work, this could work, this could not work. Okay, why won't this work? But maybe this is the one I want, but it's still not working. So what do I need to do? Let me create the environment. Then he'll try to find ways to get close to you and get to know if it's really going to work with you. If it doesn't work, then he'll pull off.
Yeah.
But he'll first look at the options available. It is very huge for guys. Because when you have that options available, it makes your choice very easy. Because then you can now look at characters. You can look at the different things and try to cancel out.
Yeah.
So if you want to be in a man's bracket, trust me, it is not magical. Guys will not just go around and say, I like you.
And
it means there's something he's seen that has put you in the bracket.
Unless you're being biased. Other way around. It can be the other way around. Yeah.
You see, there's this lady friend I have. She always told me, she's always told me that she doesn't like me.
Oh, yes, I'm glad she's direct.
She doesn't like me, but she likes the way I appear.
Yes. Look, you understand
so she told me that if she roams around the world and she realizes that nobody is coming, she'll come and take me like that.
I've heard that. So it's cool. People say that. If we're single by 30, let's just get married. Yeah.
So you see, there's a pool. You get a drift. So now the pool is appearance. So if I'm interested in her, you know what I'll do? I'll keep making sure that I always appear spectacular. I'll do that on because I've seen that is her weakness. So I'll exploit that weakness.
One day it's gonna work out. Definitely.
So before a guy will come to you, the guy will need to know that tiny thing.
Yeah.
So it might be that all your spots are closed. So it's been so difficult for him to if the guy doesn't find the tiny thing, you'll be there till 40.
Yeah. Okay.
That's the truth. No. Guys will need to get that little trigger. To look for the space.
The trigger is all they need.
That is
all they need.
Because we are attracted by looks. Trust me.
Yeah.
Before a man will come in, the man will not be interested in your prayer life. Let me be. Oh yes. You see, let's prayer with action. You pray in your closet too. The man will not be in your closet.
Yeah, I heard a pastor say, God is not a hairdresser. Go do your hair. God is not a hairdresser. You can't pray for husband and you're not making it. You didn't back for 1 week.
So these things are very easy. I've always said this. Men today want elegant women. People they can walk in town with and people like, wow, you have a nice woman.
Yeah, of course.
It's not just about the beauty, but you should be presentable.
Yeah.
So you're not interested even how you look. You don't shower. You don't shower. You don't brush your teeth. Comb your hair.
It's a fight. Your mom used to tell you
exactly.
You're not ready.
And you see, we always deceive ourselves that it's too materialistic. Trust me. Sometimes you should look at the space you are in and try to adapt to the environment today. Today, these things play a role. Nobody will come pick somebody who is not ready to look very appealing to people. You get it. So I'm being very sober here because these are the tiny things guys look out for.
Yeah.
I'm not a woman, so I can't speak for women, but I'm sure at least there will be that link to as well.
Yeah, we get that. Yeah.
Be interested in these little details. Trust me, you can't be there and having the same hairstyle, literally the same kind of clothing, literally the same. There's nothing so dynamic about you. And unfortunately for you, you are in a space where
it's the same.
So let's say it's late. Every day you are going to the generation. It's the same place. When we are going for social gatherings at least and try, you won't come. You don't. When we are going to come meetings, you won't come. Every time you don't have
any games,
youth games.
Sorry, other people.
Summer is coming. They're going for picnics. You won't come. Like you think, and then why today's over?
Oh,
It's true. Like you see, these things, it is so sad, but it is the truth.
yeah.
You need to outdoor. If you
Yeah.
don't outdoor yourself, nobody will come for you from indoor.
Okay.
So
So your
outdoor is
advice is
Yeah.
put
outdoor.
yourself out there. And I think
Yeah.
Uncle said
You
change
said
your
it.
environment.
Yeah.
Put
Outdoor.
yourself,
There's
God is not a
something.
delivery driver. He
Yeah.
won't come through the post, knock on your door. We need more address.
Yeah.
He's not gonna come and be like,
Yeah.
I'm the one for
I'm
you.
the one for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
There's something I'm thinking about, in our careers, we are told, I guess maybe more in the business world, you're told, set out the kind of business that you want, or the kind of person that you want to be. Set out the kind of business that you want first, and then figure out what kind of person do I have to be to get that kind of a life, or that job or whatever, you know. And I think it could work in the same way when it comes
I think so.
to marriage, because if I set out in my mind, this is the kind of life that I want to live with my spouse, and then I ask myself, what kind of a person can get that kind of thing? And then I begin to change. Like, I don't necessarily have, like, I think sometimes we look at change as a negative thing.
Yeah.
But it can be really positive.
Positive. Yeah.
If I begin to work towards becoming that person, because if I want a home where I have a spouse that is collaborative with me, and it's a happy home, and I want to live in the countryside, if I'm gonna just be sat at home doing nothing, I've just got my 9 to 5, my job, and I'm not even, I'm not doing anything to get me towards that.
Yeah.
Then I'm not gonna
Prayer
get
without
it.
works.
Yeah. I'm praying without works, exactly. If I don't have anything set out. So I think in practical terms, there was a book I read before I got married. It's called And the Bride Wore White. And it sets out like different things. So she's telling her different stories. And she also then at some point she gives these prompts of like, okay, so what kind of a life would you like? What kind of a husband are you looking for? And I there was I hated that book. I hated that book. I did not want to read it.
Yeah.
Like I went to camp meeting and they were like, oh, we've got to teach the teens and use this book. So I taught them. But my heart was so hard. Yeah, I didn't want this.
Yeah.
But then it got to a point like it was like, like your mom's house in the closet down there. She keeps all that.
Yeah.
So we were unpacking and doing stuff, and then I saw the book and I was like, all right. Because I left it there for years.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, fine, let me read it. And so I read it, and then I went through the process, and I think, I mean, I was still quite young and probably not as mature as I would have liked to be, but because I also got some, like I said, I got some help from other people and like some outside feedback from people that I trust. It helped me as I was writing in that book and thinking about what I want. I began to envision, okay, this could be the kind of person that I would like, the person I need to be able to get that. I don't think I nailed it, like for myself. I don't think I nailed it, like in terms of, I haven't nailed it yet. Let me say it that way, as in to be the person that will get everything that I said I desire. I'm still working towards that because that's something that continues to happen. But I'm just saying, like, for anyone who is in that point of like looking for someone, try it out. Try and like think of the kind of life that you'd want to live. Where do you want to live? What kind of things would you like to be doing? And then be that person who can access that particular thing.
Because you've gone almost the reverse. Because we always think from start to end. You've almost gone, look at the end, and now do the math. How are you going to get there? You know where you're at now. Do the math now. I know our show has gone on, but in the interest of time, we'll just start to wrap it up. If you have any questions, you're more than welcome to also send them through. I think I'll direct this last question at Uncle Dan.
Yeah.
This is a personal one that I've been itching to ask. I always say this. Is there like a point, or is there a point where you can maybe feel like, maybe marriage isn't for you? I always phrase it as in like, maybe you've been called to be like, oh, How do you know that? Because I know that marriage is good, but there are some people who genuinely will be devoted to the work. Like, how do you know? Yeah. So I'll phrase it. What if you are called to be like Paul? And how do you know you're called to be like Paul? Is it like a point you get to age 40, nobody, or 50, nobody? Then I might be like, maybe it can be.
Mine is not marriage.
You're called to be like Paul.
It's hard one, but I think in psychology we call something is it learning, or I think somebody, I've forgotten the author, we say we teach them wrong. And you realize, at times you come to your realization, right? Nobody is created to be to be in marriage or to be a marriageable material, and nobody isn't, but it's a choice. It's a choice, and it's a point of being realizing, being to that point of you talk about self-actualization, getting to that hitting that point. If you don't get there, and do you know people get there at around 40, 45?
Yeah. And
Probably they think they were not born to be into marriage, but when they get to certain age, they realize that no, I should have. You understand me? But what I don't want it to happen is that societal pressure. Somebody putting it on you without you yourself not being
you don't
being
want
ready,
to.
not going into it, not consenting to, not being preparing your mind, yourself, your whole body that I'm ready to go into that. That will be a big mistake. So I think I also add this: parents dictating for their was. At times parents want their child to get married into a specific type of people and into a specific type of culture. Like I'm a Ghanaian, and therefore that person
Ghanaian
should
or
from
Ashanti to
Ghanaian to
Ashanti. I think we
Ashanti to
spoke about
Ashanti.
this.
In fact,
Tribalism.
it is very disturbing to the children nowadays. I know somebody who hasn't and doesn't want to continue ever with any relationship because of that, because mom want that person to get married to Ghanaian, and that is Ghanaian, and the person doesn't want to. He said, no, I'm not going there ever. So it's time parents will allow children to take certain decisions. But I'm not saying allowing them, but let's sit down and reason together. You understand me? Do you want that person to do that thing? Why? You need to make that person understand. Right. So nobody is meant to be much more
nobody's called to be like
to be like Paul, or to be like somebody else. But it's a part of you. Are you ready? Do you want to?
So you think it's a choice?
It's a choice.
You don't think God has said that maybe you, this person, you are called to be like Paul? There will be no woman on this earth.
No,
You think if you want to marry, that's an option. That's
and as you said, you work towards it.
Yes,
you forget to
take the steps. I think you've given us practical steps. I'm going to use that work backwards. Where do you want to work backwards? Do the math later on. So just to conclude, because I know we've run over time, I'll just let everybody do any like closing remarks, anything they want to add, and then we'll bring the show to an end. I think we'll go this way around just to end.
So just to end from the idea of choice, what we need to understand is people make choices out of experiences. Nobody opts for a choice without having a forethought. So the forethought could be maybe experiences from the things you're saying with people who go into marriage, or maybe a personal one, or even what people have told them. So people make all these choices based on the things they've heard, what they've seen, and probably what they have experienced for themselves. But the most important thing is, I've always said this: if it is not based on a personal decision, but it's based on society, pressures around, things you've seen, maybe abuse you've noticed from somewhere, that is giving you that quest to make that decision. Just ask yourself, does it really work for you? Does it suit your space? Because I've said that people have gone to marriages, it's been brutal. People have gone to marriages, it's worked for their good. What we need to understand is that we have a manual that teaches everything. The Bible is the chief manual. I don't think the Bible has ever told us that or I don't think in our society we've seen people who have built their love life on the Bible and been disappointed before. I am yet to see that. So there's a manual out there. if you're ready to stick to the manual and live by the choice of the manual, I don't think people's experiences will even though it will give you an idea on how to coach yours, it won't have an adverse effect if your manual is the Bible. And I think as Christians, it's something we should emphasize that hey, there's no perfect marriage out there, but there's a manual to it, and the manual will drive it safe.
Thank you.
I'll wrap up by bringing in a book written by John Gray. I'll be short with it. He said, "Men are from Mars and women are from Venice."
Yeah.
I love that book. I've read it a long time ago and I keep reading it. Is anybody who wants to enter into a relationship or anybody who is into a relationship already, we need to understand that men are different from women.
Yes.
Our biological makeup, our emotions, our whatever needs, we are different. And it's hard time we need to acknowledge that difference and move on with it as it is. We need to know those differences and move on with it. But anytime the other one expect the other one to behave like the man wanted, like expect the woman to be, it can never work out. And that is when confusion starts and it will never work out. So whether you are into marriage, bear in mind that women are women and men are men. We can never understand ourselves. We need to acknowledge those differences and move on. And it is going to be successful if we acknowledge the differences, identify them, and move on with it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Yeah, so I've got a couple of points that I think I'd like to leave with the audience. So the first thing for those who are dating and wanting to date, the first thing I'd say, number one, that you've got to have in your checklist, the first thing is you've got a relationship with Jesus. So number one is Jesus, yeah? Have a relationship with Jesus, a personal one. The second thing is joy. Have joy in your heart. I think, and also understanding that having pure joy might require for you to dig into the things in your life that have made you who you are. You may have had difficult experiences growing up. You may have had, difficult relationships in your life. Maybe you got rejected by a girl before. You don't want to carry that to the next one, Maybe a man was abusive in your life and, those kinds of things. Look into that and heal from that and find joy in Jesus. The third thing that I'd say, that's from Amos chapter 3, verse 3, can two walk together unless they be agreed? Find people who you can walk with that can be in agreement with you. If you are looking for a spouse, you might find them in that setting of people who are in agreement and can walk with you. And then also Proverbs, the fourth thing is Proverbs 24, verse 6, in a multitude of counselors there is safety. At times we go into relationships and we keep them like hush hush. It's just me and that person. We're just trying to figure it out. Don't keep it hush hush. Have a circle of people who are good, godly counselors that can keep you safe. And then the last thing is count your cost. Luke chapter 14, verse 28. And know that if you are going to get into marriage, it will cost you, but be able and be willing to bear that cost. Yeah, and that cost can only be carried when you are with Christ. If you have done all these other things, Jesus first, that cost can then be carried when you are with Him. That's it.
Thank you. I think we have some questions.
I was Tim. I said some eunuchs are made by self, some by man, and some by God for His kingdom. I think it was in relation to people who are suppose somebody is born to be like Paul.
Oh yeah.
So he's trying to give his contribution that some eunuchs are made by self, so we can decide to be like Paul. Some
can be called.
Yes,
to be like Paul.
Yes.
Perfect.
So that's perfect. So that's
no. I do thank you all for your contributions. I'm sure the viewers, everyone has. I certainly have gotten some pointers. I should have bought my notepad and pen. I've got some pointers. I'm going to be watching it.
So you start cooking. You start bringing drinks.
Your advice, I always think of the Patreon stall, but I think don't think I'll quite be doing that.
You'll be doing so. Lucky one somewhere. Chris will start bringing.
Be doing that. I can clarify. I'm not be doing that. But I thank everyone for their contribution and their pointers.
Thank you.
Learned something. Just before we close up, we have some shout outs to do. So, birthday shout out. We've got our own brother, Alex's mum.
Oh yeah, to this mom's.
Yeah, shout out. I'll let you do the shout out.
Come me. Happy birthday, mom. I love you. Like I can't say much. Like she's the best.
Oh,
I've said I'm going to marry somebody like my mom. So
And you
That's very nice.
Amen. And then we have Mabel from New Generation. Shout out to our good sister Mabel. Happy birthday. We're wishing you many more. Again, as you know, this was Youth Corner. Thank you so much for tuning in. I got my own share. I'm sure you got your own share. Don't forget to tune in every day at 7 p.m. Not every day, every Saturday. We're not here every day. We work every day of the week. Every Saturday between 9 to 5. And you can bring your questions. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe. And we will see you next week. Same time, same place. Check out. Bye.
Be inspired.
Be inspired.
Be inspired.
Be inspired.
You will always be inspired with Pastor Ruben. I urge you all to be inspired by Pastor Ruben and Ponsa every Saturday at 7 p.m.
Be inspired with Pastor Ruben Aponsa. Yeah.
Be inspired.
Be inspired.
Be inspired.
Be inspired.
You will always be inspired with Pastor Ruben. I urge you all to be inspired by Pastor Ruben and Ponsa every Saturday at 7 p.m.
Be inspired with Pastor Ruben Aponsa. Yeah.
Be inspired.
Be inspired.
Be inspired.
Be inspired.
You will always be inspired with Pastor Ruben. I urge you all to be inspired by Pastor Ruben and Ponsa every Saturday at 7 p.m.
Be inspired with Pastor Ruben Aponsa. Yeah.
Be inspired.
Be inspired.
Be inspired.
Be inspired.
You will always be inspired with Pastor Ruben. I urge you all to be inspired by Pastor Ruben and Ponsa every Saturday at 7 p.m.
Be inspired with Pastor Ruben.